Comics and powered by the Red 5 Network. For more, visit red5.bio.link. Good morning. Good morning. And look, I have someone with me today. This was a surprise. It's him. He's the problem. This is Robert Meyer Burnett, for those who don't know. Good morning.
Which are many.
This was funny how it happened. So Robert and I seem to be two of the most vocal people on Twitter about the Lanterns stuff, on opposing sides of this debate. And I said to him offhanded, like, boy, it sure is a shame you can't come on the show because, man, it would be absolutely hilarious to have us go at it. He's like, why can't I? And so here he is.
Here I am.
For the first time ever, no one's in the chat yet. And that hasn't happened in like, I don't know, maybe a year. Was it you, or are you doing this?
Yeah, I repel a number of people. I'm the old man shouting at clouds. My takes on Star Trek are terrible, and clearly no one likes what I have to say about this Green Lantern trailer.
Listen,
even though I'm right and you're all wrong.
The only thing I've disagreed with you so far has been the Lanterns take. I've agreed with you across the board, like especially Star Trek. Like Star Trek, we need a break. We need a timeout from this. So I'm gonna post us real quick with RMB.
Yeah, I can go on. What's the name of your show's Comics and
yeah, just Comics and on. Hey, there's Vin. Hey, good morning, Vin Breeden. It's Comics and Everything on YouTube.
I'm gonna go put this on social media.
Yeah,
just so all the people come and yell at us. It'll be great.
Yeah, I want people to yell at us because that works out so well.
It does
for the numbers. It really does.
We'll rage farm for this morning.
You know what? I'm so good at that. I love it when the people jump in and they tell me that I have a big forehead. That's my favorite. That's when I know I've got them. When they're like, you'd think with someone with a forehead as big as yours that you'd be smarter. Like, thank you. Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Remember, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I'm back with any more of this nerdy nonsense. I have a new video that dropped this morning, just about 30 minutes ago, an interview with author Nicholas Keating Casbaro, author of the new sci-fi series Vitellarium. This is an incredibly ambitious first book he has. He's got a plan for a 7-book arc, and he is already adapting them into comics. He eventually wants to turn them into video games too. So he's really, really serious about these books. And I had a really great sit down with him. He's going to be at MegaCon also. So make sure you guys check that out. It was a really great interview. Again, that dropped this morning. And this is our last one for the week. Seriously, where is everybody this morning? This is abnormal. Maybe
hang on,
because I was like 3 minutes
I'm telling
late.
people to come yell at us right now on Twitter.
Maybe it's because we were a few minutes late. I'm not normally like late. Just gonna.
You and Gary both sent out that Damon Lindelof clip.
Really?
Yeah. Great minds think alike.
You know, I've never met Gary. I've never met Gary.
He's really nice.
Heard good things.
And so is his wife.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really good things. We have a lot of mutual friends. Like a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, I love Gary.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of, like, he's just a really wonderful, wonderful person. Um, but I keep getting told that, you know, that clip, oh, it's from 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago when he announced that he was doing this series. Like, it's still about the series. Good morning. And that's Lieutenant Penny, member of the channel. Miss Penny, love you to death. Penny, go get everybody. Why is everyone so late? I know we're kind of a laid back army here. You know, we just kind of arrive when we do, but y'all are never this late. What did I do? I mean, I showered this morning. I think I did. And last I checked, you couldn't smell me through the screen.
You smell delightful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hey, thank you for the $5 super chat. Alfred, for the love of God, people, wait for the trailers before deciding everything that will or will not be in a show based off the likely episodes 1 of 2. Oh, okay. Good morning, Dreaming Tabitha. Your eyebrows aren't even. That's why I'm not So yesterday, Tabitha forced people to pay me $10 to redo my eyebrows, and they were uneven. I was very upset, and I sent her a picture today. I said, listen, my eyebrows look great. Please don't come for them today. I can't do that. No more. Yesterday was very chaotic. Very chaotic. We're going to turn the music down a bit. All right. So there's Tabitha. Tabithas are meant to grab our interest. The trailer sucks. It's just how it is. So we're 50-50 already, Robert. We're 50-50.
Here's what I would say.
Okay.
That now the clip, of course, Tom King and Damon Lindelof, whatever, expressing their I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. I have been since I was a kid. And it's interesting because he was not like the very first animated series I watched when I was a kid was Super Friends. And the first iteration of Super Friends had Wendy and Marvin. But you never saw a Plastic Man made a guest appearance and Flash made a guest appearance. But it was Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Robin, and Aquaman. So Green Lantern never showed up. So I'd never had any image of Green Lantern that was an animated form, nor did I have Green Lantern in live action, although he was in Challenge of the Justice League or at some point, but that was never really picked up. But here, I've always loved Green Lantern because he's from space. He works for the Guardians of Oa. Now, here's what I would say about the clip that we saw. The reason I thought it was really cool. First of all, they're undercover, and Jon Stewart has never worn the ring. And he's being trained, and Hal Jordan says, "Look, you know, we've been training." Jon Stewart says, "We've been training for 2 months, and I've never even put on the ring." So they're clearly on Earth for a specific reason. Either Hal Jordan it's the first time we see Jon Stewart, and he's being brought into the Corps. I don't know how they're going to deal with his origin, but so he's never worn the ring. So there's no reason that they would be in costume at all, you know, and they're clearly incognito for some reason, which we don't know. And that is indicative, and clearly they get involved in shenanigans. And maybe for some reason, they can't, like maybe Hal Jordan can't. I mean, we do see him fly, and people are like, well, he doesn't have the green power. I'm like, that doesn't bother me. One, that could be an unfinished effect shot, by the way. And two, you know, it doesn't. We've already seen Guy Gardner in this universe, and Guy Gardner works for Maxwell Lord's Justice Gang, and he's wearing the garb that he's wearing has been designed by the Justice Gang clothiers or whatever, and they're all wearing this sort of pseudo team uniform. There you go. So even that is not an official Green Lantern Guardians of Oa uniform. It's an earthbound incarnation of the classic uniform, and which, by the way, I've always thought Green Lantern's uniform is badass. He has one of the coolest uniforms. So the thing is, to me, that trailer brought up a lot of intriguing questions that I have, like how does it work? How is Jon Stewart being brought into the Green Lantern Corps? Like, is he guaranteed to be a Green Lantern? And if he is, why is he being trained the way he is? Why isn't Hal Jordan whisking him away to Oa to begin his training? So we don't know what the situation is. We don't even know what the Green Lanterns in the new DC universe are like. We haven't seen Oa. We don't know anything about it other than what we saw from Guy Gardner in Superman. So I found the trailer I thought was really intriguing. It said from the beginning it was going to be a story like True Detective, which I like. And growing up, one of my favorite comic runs was the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams run, where Green Lantern and Green Arrow kind of travel across the United States. And I was putting it on Twitter that when they find Ray injecting heroin, Speedy, and Green Arrow's like, my ward Speedy is a junkie. In the 70s, there was a lot of socially conscious comic books where DC characters were interacting with the real world. I mean, Superman got in the ring with Muhammad Ali. So there was a lot of stories like that. And I read those when I was a kid. So it's kind of ingrained in me to be intrigued by what we were seeing. Now, I get it. People want to see space opera. They want to see action adventure, but you kind of have to earn that. The DC universe has not taken us cosmic yet. And if it's all as carefully intertwined, I think that, and I say this to people, I think that we saw the Penguin spinoff from the Batman, which I thought was terrific.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was terrific. And I would say that I would expect, because that was an HBO series too, because it's HBO. And HBO they don't usually tend to disappoint, although I thought that Damon Lindelof Watchmen series was insanely weird and not great at the end of the day. But it was strange enough that I understood why HBO allowed it on. But that's kind of how I felt about the trailer, and that's why I was really intrigued and I liked it.
Fair enough. That was very well put. This is why you are who you are.
So you tell me what you thought.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what I thought. I agree that it is cool to see, our grounded stuff. I like you made a comment on Twitter that I had responded to about, don't tell me you read these comic books as kids and you didn't say to yourself, like, wouldn't it be interesting, cool to see these in like an earthbound, like, grounded setting. And I agree with you on that. Here's where I had the problem. You can do a True Detective style Green Lantern show and have it still be a Green Lantern show. One of the great things about Green Lantern, the thing that I love, because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan too, Jon Stewart is my favorite. That is my man. He is the epitome of honor and justice and respect.
No doubt.
Walk softly, carry a big stick, kind of, how he carries himself. It's just, I just love him so much. And I'm not getting that from this. So, but I still think that you can have that in a True Detective style, but still have the whimsy that Green Lantern embodies, because let's face it, that's what makes Green Lantern great. The space cop science. The ring isn't magic, like David Lindelof says in that clip from was it Love It or Leave It podcast from 2 years ago?
Yeah.
The magic ring. It's space science. It's space science. And
that taps into willpower.
Yes, it taps into willpower. And that's another thing he didn't quite seem to understand, is that it's Green Lantern. Green is a specific spectrum that connects to willpower. These two men have the strongest will. They are the best of the best of the best of the best for Earth sector.
And they're fearless too.
fearless. Fear is the opposition to will. And I did not get that from this trailer. I got too like I saw Hal Jordan as kind of this jaded, bitter, crotchety old man, very Training Day, and I saw Jon Stewart as someone who seemed kind of petulant in a way and just this need to prove himself, and that doesn't feel like Jon Stewart to me at all. And again, maybe it's silly to belabor it, but the lack of green green is an important color. It's important to the lore of this. It's very important. They have a science to color in Green Lantern, and it was absent altogether. And then they have seemingly, now again, everyone or many people have been very fond of reminding me that this is a trailer. We don't know yet. You have to watch the show. Um, but we have seemingly gone back to a golden age idea that was left behind over 60 years ago of a physical suit that is hanging up in the closet. And I get what they're trying to do. I get they're trying to make it look like Hal's, flight suit. They want it to look like his flight suit, but it just looks so dull and brown to me. It doesn't look like a Green Lantern suit to me. And the cussing and the anger and the saying, well, do you talk to the other lanterns? Well, fuck no. We're the only humans. One of them's a fucking squirrel. That's hell. What? Come on now. Hal Jordan wouldn't say that. He would never call Chip a squirrel. He wouldn't refer to him like that. And would he seriously say, no, I don't talk to them? We're the only humans.
Well, again, I think all those are valid criticisms, but I would say that we don't know the context, and Jon Stewart's giving him a hard time, Kyle Chandler a hard time, because maybe Jon Stewart does not want to be doing this yet. Like he hasn't even put on the ring, and we don't even see anybody wearing the ring in the trailer. And one of the things I really liked about it is when Kyle Chandler puts the ring, or Hal Jordan puts the ring on the car and sends it off a cliff and jumps out. We don't see what did Jon Stewart do. Oh, you want to wear the ring, buddy? Like somehow he had to have got that ring on and got out of that car before it hit the ground. And they cut away from that. So I'm sure that we're going to get some juicy moment where he first uses the ring to save himself, which to me, I'm like, that's a cool setup. Like that's a cool way to have somebody. We've been talking for however many months. Let's see what you got, kid. And they're playing into that. And I would say that, see, the thing is, starting with Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns in the 80s, we got to see this old grizzled Batman, who came back and had to save Gotham from the Joker and the gangs and everything. And then we had Clint Eastwood playing William Money in 1992's Unforgiven, which was playing on all of the mythology of all of the Clint Eastwood movies, whether it was Outlaw Josie Wales or The Man with No Name. And we saw this man who had been by himself for 10 years, this fearsome outlaw, coming back, and then all hell came with him. So these kinds of stories can be great if they're done correctly. Now, I think that what intrigued me about this is I've been reading Green Lantern comics for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And to see a character, and I really liked the run, Jeff Johns's, he did a lot of really interesting stuff with his very long run on Green Lantern and Justice League, or Justice Society, where he did like the Sinestro Corps War. He did Blackest Night, which was silly, but I liked it. And then he did just an entire great run dealing with all the different spectrums, the rings, the different colored rings, and which I thought was really, really, really interesting. So in my mind, I always go into these shows thinking, this is interesting. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? And how are they going to play this? And are we going to see, like, how do you do a Lantern series and not address Oa and the Guardians?
Mhm.
How do you not do? And I'm curious what they're going to do, because what was really interesting to me about James Gunn's Superman is we have a world where our Earth is acclimated to knowing that there are aliens running about. You know, there's multi-dimensional doorways, cities are having buildings falling down. You've got all kinds of craziness that's happening on Earth now. And now that you've set that up, what is Earth's relationship to the rest of the cosmos?
Yeah,
Like, how does
that's a
that,
good question.
you know, and I think that normally, you know, one of the great things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did was start with Tony Stark. And it brought us into this fantastical world by making us like this man. You know, the Tony Stark character, whatever you thought about Tony Stark, we meet him in the back of a Humvee in that movie. He's going to demonstrate Stark weapons to the military, and everything goes foobar. But when he's throwing gang signs in the back with the army, with the people that are bringing him there, you love that guy. You
Yeah.
love Tony Stark because he's totally relatable. And the Marvel, the genius of Iron Man is it slowly builds so we believe it all. Like, it never pushes the envelope. When he's building his tech, his Iron Man suits, we buy it. You never
Yeah.
think to yourself, I couldn't really fly. No, it can, because it made you believe. And the thing about Green Lantern is it's pretty wild. Like, you know, one of the reasons I think that I'm a fan of the Ryan Reynolds movie. Half of it.
Yeah.
Half of it. And I have, because I thought that they really did a great job with Oa and the Guardians, and I all seeing like Kilowog, seeing everybody. It was so cool. It's just the villain, it was at war with itself, because one half of it was just incredibly goofy. I mean, the guy who
Yeah.
directed that movie directed the Bond movies, GoldenEye bringing us Pierce Brosnan, and Casino Royale bringing us Daniel Craig. And I thought that he didn't have a handle. The fantasy element was at war. The real world elements were too goofy, but the fantasy stuff was really cool, the sci-fi stuff. And so the movie was kind of at war with itself, and Ryan Reynolds was being his goofball self, and it didn't gel. But the Green Lantern stuff was pretty neat. I mean, I like half that movie. I'll throw that movie on and watch this stuff in space. But Parallax, all that stuff was bad. But I think what this series is doing, I would imagine, and I'm sure part of this teaser was mostly from the first 2 episodes, maybe, is that it's drawing us in slowly, because this is completely, the Guardians are completely fantastical with the rings and everything. It's a lot to ask. And by doing what they did with Iron Man 1, and by the way, I am totally speculating. I don't know about this show. But I think that they're bringing us in slowly to show us the mythology. But now it is a point to say, if Damon Lindelof and Tom King never liked the characters, I don't know why they would say that. It's like J.J. Abrams saying, I never liked Star Trek. It was too intellectual.
Yeah. That's a big concern for me. For him to go on that podcast and said, well, we left the green out because we all agreed it was stupid. And, they have a magic ring, but all the fights are still close quarters. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. How can you write any of this when you clearly have no respect or understanding for it whatsoever? And here we have, and this is my issue with it, is here we have yet again 2 heroes who are supposed to be the male paragons of honor, and they're being portrayed in this very grimy kind of light. Like, one doesn't want to, we're supposed to see it as however it ends up being, but in this trailer we are definitely supposed to pick it up as, Hal doesn't exactly want to trust or give up his spot, and John is definitely eager to take that spot and take over. It doesn't come across as these very, they're supposed to be like Captain America, they're supposed to be on par with Captain America. What's wrong with that? Why can't we have that anymore? Why do we have to have these nihilistic male superheroes again? Like I'm a woman who likes hot male honorable superheroes.
Yeah,
Can I
baby.
can I please ogle them? Can I ogle the hot male honorable superheroes? Like, why are you taking that away from me? Why do you hate that so much, Damon Lindelof? What's James Gunn's problem with that? Like, you can still have the sense of humor, you can still have the true detective. I mean, that's one of the great things about Green Lantern comics is that they are somewhat detective stories. There is mystery. There are things to solve. You can still have that in the show without taking away that whimsical aspect. And you know what I'm talking about, the ring stuff and the honorable personalities of the characters. That's what sticks in my craw. Like, you didn't write these characters. You didn't spend all that time working and creating these stories, yet you're going to come in, flip through a few pages without even really reading them and say, well, that sucks. I can do better. Here we go. I'm just going to wipe my ass with the insides of it, slap the cover on it. Like, we'll just remove half the name because that's stupid, right? Nobody likes that. My response to you on that one post was, not one person, not one child read those comic books and said, you know what would be great? If we removed everything we liked about this and did something on the opposite end of the spectrum, made them assholes, made them unhappy, put them in a car. Yeah, we don't like it when they fly.
Well, but again, though, I mean, I keep saying Kyle Chandler because I love, or I was going to say Coach
I love
Taylor.
Kyle Chandler.
I love Friday Night Lights, one of the greatest TV shows of all time. But there's a situation where clearly Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are at odds for some reason. And it's up to Hal Jordan to bring Jon Stewart into the fold. And Jon Stewart, I don't think Jon Stewart, in my mind, from what I got from the trailer, he doesn't really know what he's in for. And Hal Jordan is bringing him, and Jon Stewart's pushing back against him. So Hal Jordan's got his work cut out for him. And I think Hal Jordan is sort of playing a part. You know, it like that mentor thing when it's tough love. We're in the tough love phase right now. And what Hal Jordan is trying to do is to meld or to mold, to shape Jon Stewart to bring, because Jon Stewart clearly does not want to, like, he's like, just give me the ring, you know? And so I think that there's something interesting going on there that I think is going to play out over the course of the series. And I like stories like that. You know, I like stories where you've got the cocky younger guy. You know, I love buddy cop stories from like another 48 Hours or Midnight Run, or those movies from the 80s where you had these mismatched characters at first that have tension between them, but then they figure out how to work together. Like Riggs and Murtaugh and Lethal Weapon. At first, Riggs was like, I'm too old for this shit. And Murtaugh had a death wish. He was suicidal. And yet over the course of that film, we saw their partnership forged in fire. And that is inherently interesting drama. And to me, if they just gave us a Green Lantern where they're already Green Lanterns flying around, I think it's harder. I think it's more dramatic, and it's better for the audience if we're slowly being brought into this world. And remember, and we as fans forget, the show's on HBO, so it has to appeal to their HBO audience. And if you just had Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart show up in Green Lantern costumes, people that watch HBO who expect a certain, I mean, it really is the Tiffany standard of
Oh,
TV
I agree
shows.
with you.
And they've got to do something that would appeal to their audience. So it's an HBO take on the DC universe that seems to be very different than Peacemaker's take. And that alone intrigues me. Now, I might hate the show, but I just found a lot about it because it's going to be a slow burn, because they know what people eventually want to see. But the problem is Damon Lindelof also made that Watchmen show, which I have a real problem with, and
I
again,
think a
he's one
lot
of
of
the
people
most
did.
egregious in terms of trying to appeal to. Let me show you how progressively liberal I am, and listening to him talk about what Watchmen was really, and Watchmen's one of my favorite things in the world, the comic series, and I was blown away by it. I couldn't wait to get the next issue monthly when it was coming out. But I thought what Lindelof did with the series, while there was some interesting things in it, it was pretentious AF. And
Mhm.
it was just him screaming, "Look at me! Look at how much I know, and my worldview should be accepted by all." Not really.
Yeah. 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 And and we all know when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. It waters it down and it just makes it crummy. And I agree that if we did a Green Lanterns show where they're both already getting along, well, I won't say that, where they're already like in the flow of partnership as Green Lanterns all over, I will say uh John is already a Green Lantern. That might be a bit boring for the general audience. I can agree with that. But your examples you were giving for the buddy cop stuff, they all have one thing in common, and that is none of them are superhero movies.
Well,
None
that's
of
true.
them. None of them are superhero movies. Um, and the one thing that I tell people when they're trying to differentiate Marvel and DC, because people, oh, well, do you like Marvel? Do you like DC? Well, that's actually, comparing apples to pears. They're two totally different things. They're both comic publishers, but they're publishing two totally different things, or at least they were. DC has always been in the business of morality tales, of aspirational characters, creating gods that are the paragons of morality, people you should aspire to be more like. And Marvel was always about the ambiguity, the gray areas, and relatability. So, what they've done with these Lanterns characters is they've made them Marvel Lanterns characters. They've made them relatable to modern day Earth cops instead of the DC version as they were intended to be, as these aspirational moral paragons, godlike men amongst mortals here on earth, the absolute best of the best of the best. And I keep kind of beating this point to death, but I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that
Sure.
from this trailer that these two men are the absolute moral best of the best of the best of planet Earth. That's not what they've shown me. It looks to me that they've taken the DC concept of creating, aspirational characters and just swept that aside and said, let's do the Marvel thing and make them relatable and ambiguous.
Well, somebody on Twitter just said to me, "Imagine if
Mhm.
we got a real world version of Dune." And I'm like, "But that's what Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune is."
Yeah,
It
it's
is
our
the real.
future.
It's yeah, it's totally given us what would Dune look like if it was real. And I've always believed, look, I've said this word a million times. It's my
Mhm.
favorite word when it comes to storytelling, which is verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
And that what that word actually means is the quality of being real.
Mhm.
And so when you are telling a fantasy story or a superhero story, you have to my favorites are those that make me believe that I can believe in the world that these characters inhabit. And when you have one of the great tricks I think that the MCU was able to pull was it made you believe that Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America could exist in the same universe. Very different characters, very different powers. We had to believe in Asgard. We had to believe in super soldiers. We had to believe in Iron Man and repulsor technology. But you did. And by the time you get to Avengers in 2012 with Hulk and Black Widow and Hawkeye, when that famous camera shot surrounding all the characters when Iron Man lands, we believed, because those movies made us believe, because it presented all these characters with these different, like when you met the Hulk in that movie and you met Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, Bruce Banner, when Black Widow came to get him, their character interplay before he ever turned into the Hulk made you believe. Once you believed in Bruce Banner and you believed that he was a man, a real man, you could then believe when he turns into the Hulk, because you've already believed in the human side of him. So if they can make you believe in the Hulk side of him, and that's a harder thing to do when you're making movies and TV shows than people seem to think. And everybody's talking about, like, if the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, they had a real problem in that, how do you make the Green Lantern suit look credible on camera? And they had their solution in that movie was to make the suit generated by the ring. It is a construct of, and it's pulsating with the ring's power, which I thought was interesting. It was a visually interesting idea. A lot of people didn't like that when they first saw that, but I thought that was an elegant choice. Now, we have seen this picture dropped of this, brown, it kind of looked like a vaguely Rocketeer-esque, that lantern suit that we've seen online.
Yeah, it was in the trailer, this one.
Yeah, that's right, that suit. Now, again, I don't know what the context of that is. Like, was that suit, because remember, Hal Jordan was a test pilot, and that suit looks like something that would be more along the lines of what the Rocketeer would wear. With his, so maybe that suit has something to do with him maybe he was a test pilot on Earth while he was a Green Lantern, and that might be military issue. That might be an Earthbound suit acknowledging that he's in fact a Green Lantern. I don't know. And so I think by looking at that, I don't necessarily, and maybe that is his suit, and maybe when we see it on camera, I don't like the fact that suit is not as green as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was sort of disappointed in James Gunn's Superman in that the Justice Gang was wearing these Maxwell Lord, even though Mr. Terrific's costume was right out of Justice Society.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific looks terrific.
Yeah, I mean, and fantastic. That was great. But you want to see, Guy Gardner was goofy anyway, but Hawkgirl, I would like to have rather seen more traditional Thanagarian, Hawk garb.
Right.
But I think that will change. That will change and evolve as we move through this. But
and I gotta say, does this not look like a custom 1995 Eddie Bauer Green Lantern suit?
Yeah,
Eddie Bauer green.
It does. And the one thing about James Gunn's DC universe reboot that I am not a fan of so far, Peacemaker looks like Peacemaker, but the rest of the heroes, look, the MCU costumes, the superhero uniforms have for the most part been spot on. They've made them work in the real world. Like, I knew when I saw Captain America's fatigues that he fought in World War II, and they look like Captain America, but they look functional. And by the time you get into the real world and you're in Avengers Endgame and you see how the stealth suit he had in Winter Soldier, all that stuff is great. All those costumes that the MCU has given these characters are amazing. Even as much as I hated Love and Thunder, I loved the glam rock and roll Thor costume. I did that too. Shit was dope, and it was like they have nailed those costumes. Not so much with the DC universe, which I don't quite understand. But
I don't either.
We'll see.
I don't either. Let's check in with the chat, see if we have any questions. I know it's been pretty active, and we haven't got a chance to pop in with them yet. Let's see. Commander Doc Brown. It may say Dane Ren Gray, but it's actually Commander Doc Brown. Is it confirmed if Lanterns is in Gunn's DCU? Yes, it is, which is why I'm very, very confused why Hal Jordan said at the end of the trailer, we're the only humans.
That was interesting to me.
Yeah, like
Because what about Guy Gardner?
Right, he's been in 2 of the projects already. He's been in Superman and Peacemaker season 2. Clearly you're not. And he's all over the place. He's part of the Justice Gang. They're all over TV and stuff. So it is part of the DCU. So I don't understand.
Well,
But
does it take place back in time?
That's a good question.
Because
we don't know.
It was like, who says it takes place now? Because that was my big question, that this show could actually be taking place 10, 20 years ago in DCU time. Again, that was something that I was curious about because of that comment.
And
that comment was specifically put in the trailer for a reason.
And Alfred has said he's confirmed in the show. He is 99% chance there's a joke coming there.
Yeah, sure.
And Outlaw Pistolero has said all the costumes look cheap Temu cosplay uniforms. I can agree with that. Ensign Loki, member of the channel, says, frankly, it would be moronic for the general pop to be used to superheroes. No one would find them boring. The dumb sheriff lady would be intimidated as hell. Okay, Loki.
See, now people are making assumptions on the content of the show based on the trailer in terms of character interactions and what's going on when we don't have any context at all. So, and that's what I mean, as somebody who's been a fan of HBO for the last 30 years, I find it really intriguing that they decided to make this an HBO series. Because maybe I would assume, like, look, Penguin kicked ass.
Yes,
and
it did.
if that's their template, if they and you could say that, well, that wasn't really in the DC universe, that was something else. Well, yeah, but it was still based on a comic book property. So I take a wait and see attitude. I mean, look, I'll be the first person. I am not shy about saying I think something sucked, especially something that Damon Lindelof was involved with. But in this case, I'm curious.
And I've been really, really looking forward to this series because, again, huge Green Lantern fan. I really should have brought my John Lantern Funko Pop down here because I love him. And usually I am very, I want to wait. And I still am very wait for final product before I make my final judgment. But I will say that the job of the trailer is to get us invested and get us interested to want to see final product. And this trailer had the opposite effect on me. It had kind of the, oh no, oh no kind of effect. Commander Doc Brown. I also wonder if they're making John Stewart an architect, retconned, or a former U.S. Marine. Have we read anything about that yet?
I don't know, but he seems like a Marine.
He does to me.
He has look, I love that guy. When I saw Aaron Pierre, I'm like, that dude has got it, man. He's awesome. And when he was cast as John Stewart, I'm like, that's perfect casting. I mean, and he's got that great. He just looks great. He's just an incredible physical. I mean, I'm a straight man, but
he looks like John Stewart.
If I was going to look like a dude, like Mike Coulter, I'd want to look like John Stewart in the show. Aaron Pierre is a handsome man.
He is.
I want to see him fill out that Green Lantern uniform and kick some real ass. I think we will.
Lieutenant Backyard TARDIS. Hal not liking talking to the other Guardians line and John telling Hal he is better than him felt like it was off for the characters. Could be like Blue Beetle F Batman moment. That I felt that way as well.
Yeah.
What about you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's saying to me, I'm looking at on Twitter, James Gunn said the storyline is central to the threat facing the DC universe. first chapter that they're working on now, the Gods and Monsters chapter. It's not a random standalone TV show like Peacemaker. The teaser has upset many because they expected more from it, even though it's a teaser. Well, that's another thing. I mean, we go through this so often. You have a teaser and then people are disappointed, but I understand. Look, I get it. I understand why I really do. I just think that it was intriguing to me, and I think that I'm willing to wait and see. I think this is because the tone of this show is so important to the rest moving forward. I think the DC universe is too goofy right now. Peacemaker, Superman, kaiju in the cities, buildings falling over like dominoes. They need to pull this back, and they need, and James Gunn has said that the tone of various projects are all very different, kind of like DC Comics were. And I think that it's going to be really interesting to see Supergirl and Lanterns over the summer, and how, because I think it's going to point and then we of course get Clayface, which direction the DC universe is going to go in. And I think it's really important. So we'll see.
So we've got Bootlegger Entertainment. Good morning, Bootlegger. He says, whatever the thoughts on the trailer, there is no need for that guy to mock the source material, essentially assaulting the readers and fans. I was going to subscribe to HBO for the show, but to hell with that. I can't really blame him. That was that gives you a lot of pause or cause for concern when this guy's like, I got this great new show. It's based on one of your beloved characters, but it's stupid.
Feel my pain for Star Trek since 2009.
Right? Alex Kurtzman, you're a dick. Oh, I can't. I've stopped watching. Like, I watched the first couple of episodes of Starfleet Academy to review them, and then I just couldn't suffer it anymore. It's just so bad. It's so awful that I couldn't stomach it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I also think too that people have to remember we have a Green Lantern movie that is less than beloved. And I think you have to ask yourself, because there's a lot of fantastical stuff in that. There's a lot of wielding the ring right out of the comic books. I always ask people, why did you not like Green Lantern? The real question is not, did you like the trailer for Lanterns, but why did you not like Green Lantern? And ask yourself, how would you like to see Green Lanterns portrayed on screen if you didn't like the space stuff that was in the original Green Lantern? Because I thought, again, tonally, that movie was at war with itself. But it's really difficult to make people believe in a live action Green Lantern.
But
and we saw an example of how it didn't work.
Why would you like Green Lantern but not like the space stuff? They feel kind of intrinsically linked to me.
I agree. I agree, because I would make a giant, if somebody said to me, Rob, if you could make a Green Lantern movie, I would make a Green Lantern movie entirely set in space. And it would be an epic, sprawling Lord of the Rings fantasy where you go from planet to planet. I mean, I'd try and bring back the Atari Force, if people remember that comic that lasted 20 issues. Jam him in there as a cameo. But that's what I would do. I would make but you have to. Here's a real problem with a lot of these people, like the Damon Lindelofs of the world that work in Hollywood. Because if they don't have any connection to the stories, it's very difficult for somebody who's not familiar with Green Lantern to open a Green Lantern comic and jump in and take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people that don't read comics don't understand is that comic readers, we don't open up a comic book and think, oh, I'm reading a comic. It's literature.
Mm-hmm.
When you're following a story, I don't sit there and differentiate between, if I'm going to read a novel, if I'm going to read like James Joyce's Ulysses, I don't think, well, this is the highfalutin thing that I'm reading, and now I'm going to go read Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, and it's somehow slumming. I don't think of that. I think of whatever medium I'm listening to or watching or experiencing or reading, they're just as important. So in my mind, that's why I look at comic books. I know what medium I'm reading, but I also am reading at scale. Like I know what to expect. I know if I'm going to read like Art Spiegelman's Mouse, which you have mice, but they're in a story about the Holocaust. I know what I'm reading. If I'm reading Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns or his Ronin or his Daredevil, I know what I'm reading. If I'm reading Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing, his run on Swamp Thing is it's literature. It's incredible. You know, and you're talking about Swamp Thing. There are very few people in Hollywood that could sit down and read Swamp Thing and take it seriously.
Right.
They have to understand, and this is the problem. You have all of these writers that get involved in these things. And Tom King didn't he write like a Green Lantern issue during the Darkseid War, the Justice League Darkseid War, like 10 years ago? So he's written Green Lantern.
Yeah, it was the one where Hal tries to delete himself with his ring. Isn't that the one he tried to
something like that? But I think though that there's a lot of, I mean, we saw a lot of comic book adaptations where they didn't understand how to adapt comics. And it wasn't until, you know, I'll tell you a funny story. I did the special features for X-Men and X2 on home video. So if you go and you get those discs, I did the special features. Lauren Schuler Donner, the producer of those, who was married to Dick Donner, who directed Superman, she thought that the X-Men movie that Bryan Singer made, she thought it was going to fail miserably and that everybody was going to hate it. So at the premiere, which they had on Ellis Island, you know, on the Statue of Liberty or whatever, too, she thought that people were just going to hate this movie. So she never even went to the premiere.
Gosh.
Cut to, it opened at the time to $56 million that weekend, which was huge.
Yeah.
And that movie opens at Auschwitz, the concentration camp. You know, when young Magneto is torn away from his mother, and he's like, you know, and you see the manifestation of his powers. And as soon as that movie came out, it changed comic book movies forever. Now, you could say The Crow and Blade were kind of leading up to that, even to a certain extent. Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy was a new approach. But when you got to X-Men, they followed that up with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Those two movies clinched how modern audiences would look at superhero films. And when they looked, you know, when Green Lantern got made, it wasn't really, and you saw things like Elektra didn't really work. Mark Steven Johnson's Daredevil with Ben Affleck, I like the director's cut a little bit more, but those were movies that were still back in the 90s and maybe to a certain extent the 80s. They hadn't looked at what was happening, you know, up to the MCU when we had Batman Returns, obviously, or Batman Begins and Superman Returns. Those were really interesting, sort of more serious takes. I mean, Christopher Nolan changed how audiences look at Batman after Batman and Robin with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you had the tone in the early 2000s, well, all through the 2000s. They were figuring out how to do superhero adaptations on screen, and some worked and some didn't. It really depended on how the creators took the original source material. And like when Zack Snyder made 300, which is a great adaptation of Frank Miller's work, and then went on and he did Man of Steel, and he did Watchmen first and then Man of Steel. He brought he took the mythic, and the same thing they did with 300 was mythic, Watchmen was mythic, and Man of Steel was certainly a great science fiction mythic take on Superman. And I thought those really worked. Those are grandiose images, and that was a different approach. And now we're in 2026, so I don't think it's going to be hard to make a Green Lantern film that isn't at war with itself in terms of its tone. So I think this way of getting into the Green Lantern mythos could work very well, depending on where they take it. We know so little about what the show's going to be like.
That's true. We know very little, but don't you think, I mean, there was a time when we knew nothing about Green Lantern and we opened a comic book and we started reading and we fell in love with the character. Don't you think that those stories are still strong enough to bring more people into the fold on the screen if they're adapted well by the
Well,
right people?
yes, but it's a really difficult proposition. If you were to take a direct translation of just take what you saw on a comic book page and turn it into a movie, it's really difficult because you immediately okay. One of the most difficult and you can have you ever cosplayed?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're cosplaying a costume, it's really hard to translate something and make it look good in the real world and not make it look,
Cartoony.
there's a wildly diverse. You could take the exact same character and have 10 people do it, and you would give you'd get a spectrum of which cosplayers were the best at what they knowing what kind of fabric to use or leather and knowing how to translate a superhero uniform from the page to an actual human body. The same is true of making a superhero movie because there's 100,000 different decisions that go in. If you look at the colors in modern superhero movies, they tend to be muted because if you use a really bright color, we don't see bright colors in the real world in most respects. So a real bright color looks a little goofy. A shade of blue that's too blue does not look great on screen, so you got to pull the blue back. And these are things that are really difficult to do and make look good, depending on what you want to do.
So, if we matched the color grading for the suit and the character to reality, that would help.
Yeah,
But also, back to, what I was saying earlier about, we read these stories and we weren't thinking like, oh, let's change everything about it and then put it on screen. We were thinking, man, it would be really cool to see this as a movie, to see this as a TV show. I would love to see this in live action. But whenever Hollywood adapts something, and I'm not saying we have to do a full one-to-one adaptation. That
right.
never happens. But especially lately, when they're adapting things, and especially with James Gunn, they're basically just taking the name of something and then throwing everything else away. So then not only do you have comic book fans coming in completely disappointed that the thing they've wanted to go see their whole lives is not there, but then you have, normies, general audience who are like, oh, this looks interesting. I think I'm going to bone up on it. Let me look up some stuff. And they start reading the comic books or they research YouTube videos and then they go see the show or the movie and they're like, wait, this is nothing like, or they watch the show or movie first, then they go try to read the comics or watch a YouTube video and they're like, well, this is nothing like the TV show or movie I just watched. This is nothing like, and it turns them off to it. Did you see that as like a bit of a conundrum that's
Yeah.
been created with that?
Yeah, but I think that's true of anything that's going to be adapted from one medium to another.
But why are we doing that? Why are we telling the creators and original writers of these stories that millions of people have beloved for decades they're wrong, essentially, and that these new writers are right, or they have a better idea, and that this is going to be even better?
I think you're absolutely right about that. I don't think they necessarily do. I think that the one of the problems is that immediately you have writers that take over these properties that want to change them. And I think that's problematic. And I think anybody who's doing that is frankly stupid
Mhm.
because the assignment is to adapt what you've been given into another medium, but retain what made whatever that thing is that you're adapting popular in the first place. And I think a good example to me is Judge Dredd.
Mhm.
So if you look, we've had 2 Judge Dredd movies. We're gonna get a third one that Taika Waititi's gonna make. But the original Judge Dredd, I was working at a talent agency, and William Wisher, who wrote the original draft that Stallone did, his draft was very true to the spirit of the Judge Dredd comics. And when I was reading scripts at William Morris, John Woo had just became a client of theirs. And they gave me all of his potential projects to read, because nobody there knew who John Woo was.
Hmm.
And I thought having John Woo make a Judge Dredd movie after he made movies like Bullet in the Head and The Killer and Hard Boiled, I was like, that'd be the greatest thing in the world, because basically he's from Mega City 1. That's what Hong Kong is. It's the
Yeah.
closest thing to the Judge Dredd Mega City on Earth. So I thought it was great. When I saw that they hired Sylvester Stallone to play Judge Dredd, the first thing I thought of was, there's no way an actor like Stallone would leave the helmet on the entire movie.
Yeah.
Because I understood. Then they suddenly were not making a Judge Dredd movie anymore. They're making a Stallone movie.
Yeah.
And if you look at Judge Dredd, the cast of that film, Arma DeSante, Max von Sydow, Diane Lane, incredible cast. Incredible. Jürgen Prochnow, incredible. Then Rob Schneider is in it, and they decided, somebody said, let's give him a funny sidekick. Because they didn't understand that RoboCop was the closest thing to Judge Dredd. The first Verhoeven would have made in 1987, if he never made RoboCop and they gave him a Judge Dredd movie to make, it would have been the best thing ever. But they had to then, they couldn't wrap their head around what Judge Dredd was supposed to be. They couldn't understand that the humor in it was derived from the same place that RoboCop's humor was. Hyper violent, the parody of the future civilization. I mean, that's why RoboCop is essentially the Judge Dredd movie we never got.
Yeah.
But all the people in Hollywood said, well, this movie has to be this way, and it has to be this way. I mean, it has great production design. They hired Jean-Paul Gaultier to make the costumes, and they were pretty accurate in the Roadmasters, but they couldn't wrap their heads around how the characters and the world were supposed to be. Now you cut to Carl Urban's Judge Dredd. And while people would say that the plot was a lot like the movie The Raid, but that movie got the tone right, the characters right, everything about that Judge Dredd movie was the way Judge Dredd was supposed to be. It just didn't have the kind of money that the Stallone Judge Dredd movie had. There's a lot of great stuff in that, The Cursed Earth. So I don't dislike the Judge Dredd movie the way some people do. I think the first one's actually a lot of fun to watch, but it didn't hit the right tone. But
No.
Carl Urban's movie totally hit the right tone, but they didn't have as much money, and so they couldn't build the world as much out as they did in the first. But I think those are 2 good examples of showing what works and what doesn't work. And part of it is because the first Judge Dredd movie had to service an actor as opposed to servicing the premise and the idea behind Judge Dredd. I mean, you look at Bryan Singer's X-Men. Hugh Jackman was essentially an unknown when he came and played Wolverine, and he's 6'2". Wolverine's not 6'2" in the comics, but people love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yeah. Now.
And I always point to that and go, he doesn't look anything like he's supposed to look in the comics. Colossus could not pick him up and do a fastball special, even though they tried to do that in X-Men 3 in the Danger Room. So it's a give and take. You can do both. You can change, so you can put Hugh Jackman has been now playing Wolverine he will be playing him this year for 26 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. And everyone loves him. I've thousands of pages of X-Men comics in omnibuses behind me, and I love him as Wolverine.
Yeah. He really surprised a lot of people. I mean, I tell people all the time, listen, I'm old enough to remember people very unhappy with his casting before those movies came out.
Very unhappy.
Very unhappy. Him and Tobey Maguire. When those casting announcements came out, Michael Keaton. We're not happy with Michael Keaton. Mr. Mom. You're going to make Mr. Mom
that's
Batman?
exactly what they said.
So, casting casting can surprise you. And they've done some amazing casting in the last few years with superheroes, and that hasn't necessarily been my issue. My issue has been with the cherry picking with the source material and then ripping it to shreds
Yeah.
and just doing whatever they want with it. With the characters of Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, to me, from the trailer, from what I've seen so far, they have not adapted the characters directly. They seem like totally different men to me. Like, did you read any of it? Did you watch Justice League Unlimited at all? Like, I mean, you have the wealth of human knowledge at your fingertips. You have the entire DC library at your disposal. It takes half a second to learn this information. And have you taken the moment to do any of that? You can't sit here and tell me that you have this huge HBO level production, and I did more research for my YouTube production on Green Lantern than you did for your HBO production on the characters. I have thoughts.
Yeah, and you should. I mean, Outlaw Pistolero makes a good point. He says, are these movies being made for fans or the general audience? And the answer is they're being made for the general audience. And if they were just being made for fans, they couldn't spend the kind of money that they would spend on these things. The problem is there is a thought that the general audience won't get a lot more of the comic bookness of all of these things. And I've often thought that that's a wrong assumption to make.
It
What
is.
what you have to do is, and the trick is to figure out how to properly adapt these stories for a general audience, because the stories themselves and the characters are good. And the thing about Green Lantern in particular is his world that he exists in, with the Guardians of Oa and the Green Lantern Corps and the Sinestro Corps and all of the different villains that Green Lantern has fought over the years. Um, is ripe for the pickings. And there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to make a really effective Green Lantern movie. But you would need somebody that understands what a great space opera is. You'd need, I mean, to me, a Green Lantern series of movies could be the same way that I love Star Trek. It's
Mhm.
action adventure, allegorical science fiction.
Yes.
And in dealing with the problems of the cosmos, Green Lantern confronts human problems, but they take the form of whatever he's dealing with out in space. That's what Star Trek did. You know, we the human beings were the people, we had already perfected ourselves. And in going out into the cosmos, we met, or we experienced situations or met alien races that had our problems. You know, so our crew could use our humanity to help solve whatever needed to be solved out there, and whatever needed to be solved out there was what reflected back on us. We could look at it and go, oh, this alien race are a bunch of racists, or oh, this alien race destroyed themselves with atomic power. Why we shouldn't do that, but that's why
Mhm.
we could go help them. And the same is true of something like Green Lantern. The iconography of it all is already there. Trust in the iconography because it's cool. Green Lantern's uniform is inherently cool. What you have to figure out is what shade of green and how are you going to portray it. It can't just be lycra. You know,
Right.
no one will accept a skin tight onesie as a superhero uniform.
No.
It's not,
No.
as any cosplayer will tell you, it doesn't work now. You can't, I mean, you can do it, but then you look like I'm the classic. And no one did it better than Captain America, the First Avenger, when they gave us the classic comic uniform, and that's what he wore at the USO before he'd become Captain America. He's wearing
Yeah,
the
I
USO,
agree.
and then they give us the military fatigues Captain America that
Mhm.
he fought in World War II with. That costume was both credible as a fighting costume in World War II, and it was unmistakably Captain America. And then as you moved into the present day, we got the most perfect iteration of the Captain America armor, as evidenced in Endgame. And we'll get
Before
it
I
again.
before I yeah, yeah. give my take on the Green Lantern costume, what I think should happen. I want to say big thanks to Commander Polly for the $2 super chat. He says, RMB, I fucking love this vato.
Oh, my carnal. Polly's actually in real life a very handsome, impressive dude. He's like 6'2".
I've heard, yes, he has told me that. He's my Wednesday co-host over on Latino Slant. We have a show called Mid Roast. We do after my morning show. And he pays me in helping me with my workouts and stuff. And I commented on, Jesus, the size, you got huge freaking feet, man. What the hell? He's like, I'm 6'2". Okay,
Yeah.
I'm 6'2".
We went and saw, by the way, we went and saw Matrix Resurrections together in Meat Space in the real world.
Oh, yeah, you
And
really needed a supportive friend for that experience.
I know, but we both loved it. I
Why?
will defend to the. See, this is another thing. There are takes that I have that are totally contrary to what everybody else would say. But I think the Matrix Resurrections is not it doesn't really work well for the franchise, but I
No.
like it. And I could go on and I could do a whole dissertation on why I like that movie. But I would never try and convince anybody else that I'm right.
Okay, good. Because you won't. What I think should be done with the suit, because a lot of people on Twitter, when I say, what the fuck is this suit? Like, first of all, why are we hanging a physical suit in a closet? That's something we left behind in the golden age over 60 years ago. Like, why are we doing this? And I'm telling you, like 150 bots all said the same thing. They're like, because we tried to do CGI and it sucked and nobody liked it. Like, so what you're alluding to, what you're insinuating is that there's only bad CGI. So why not try either good CGI, or even better, a combination of a practical suit, and use CGI to show it, come out as the construct and deconstruct. Why can't we show that? I think that would be pretty freaking dope. Personally speaking, I think that would be amazing. And we wouldn't have this very bland Eddie Bauer suit. Like, again, I get what they're doing. They're trying to make it look like his flight suit, but it's not landing. It's
Right,
not
but again, we
landing.
haven't even seen anybody in that suit. We don't know what it is.
I don't think I want to.
Well, you might not. I mean, remember, they make a big deal about when do I get the ring? When do I get that ring?
And that leads me to another question. How has Jon Stewart been chosen? How has he been chosen and he hasn't gotten a ring? Like, that's how you get chosen. The ring comes and finds you and chooses you.
Yes, unless Hal Jordan is going to bequeath his ring to Jon Stewart.
But that's not what happened.
But I mean, in the context of the show, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that Hal Jordan is retiring. Like he's been Green Lantern for quite some time, and they found his proper replacement, which is Jon Stewart. And there's and Hal has to train him and give him the ring, or something like that. And I think that'll be. I like that idea. It's like your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough. It's not as.
But you know what I like? I like the canon versions. I like the comic book versions. That's what I like.
I know. Me too.
See.
We saw him in Green Lantern, the Green Lantern movie. And look at how Hal Jordan, he was chosen, yes, but he was also in proximity. And maybe something similar happened in Hal Jordan's life, where his life was going to end, and Jon Stewart the ring found Jon Stewart. We don't know. Might happen.
Well, let's play a little speculation. Let's speculate a little bit about this show. why do we think that they're driving around in this car and stuck in this small town? Why do we think Hal is so bummed out and hating life and just a miserable old cuss? Is he possibly, are they doing parallax? Is he going to be evil Hal Jordan? Are they going to introduce Kyle Rayner? Are they actually going to adapt a comic book story? That's kind of been my question, because I don't know if you saw the thumbnail, but in the trailer they seem to have like this yellow fear gun against John's head. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. That's been kind of one of the speculations I've been tossing around. Are they doing evil Hal Jordan?
I think that there is some extraterrestrial threat in this show, and that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are stumbling into it, as like Hal Jordan might be preparing for retirement. He's got to train Jon Stewart. Remember, people on Earth probably know the Green Lantern Corps already exists and stuff, but they don't necessarily know. No one's met Hal Jordan up close and personal. Somebody said, well, when he was being, because I said they're kind of undercover. They're incognito. They're just, and Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart he's training him, and I think they stumble into something that turns out to be much, much bigger than they anticipated, to the point where an Earth-threatening situation from some extraterrestrial power, whatever that is, and they get embroiled within it. So the storyline, whatever it is, it was going to be, Hal Jordan's training Jon Stewart to eventually take his ring. I'm stepping down. You're going to take my ring. And as all good stories do, they have inadvertently stumbled across something that they weren't expecting at all. They're going to become embroiled in whatever that story is, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where it's going to, like James Gunn said, it's going to have huge ramifications into the DC universe moving forward.
Well, I'm wondering if that invasion, that thing that's there that they've stumbled upon, is parallax.
I don't, you know what? I don't think so. I don't think that they would do that yet, because I think they need something that is going to threaten the rest of the DC universe. Parallax is pretty specific to Green Lantern. I mean, I know that he came back and what it was, the sun getting snuffed out and all that. Maybe, but I think it's going to be something even bigger.
Well, it isn't. I mean, Tom King is a part of this, and he wrote Blackest Night.
Yeah.
So I'm just, that's where I'm putting my money on. I'm saying that that's going to have something to do with it. That gun looks very yellow to me, and all these people are in this town are acting weird.
Well, I mean, it could be Sinestro, something to do with Sinestro, that he's I thought Sinestro was really that's another thing I really liked about the Green Lantern movie. Mark Strong is Sinestro. I thought he was great.
Mark Strong's great in everything.
Yeah, he was great. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be really, really whatever it's going to be, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. I was excited, and I'm intrigued. And I think that I'm really curious to see where they take this, because the only thing we will have seen Supergirl, and I have a question: is Supergirl going to have anything to do with what happens in Lanterns? Because
I'm assuming
her story is Tom King's story, the Woman of Tomorrow story. So and then we get Lanterns was moved, so it's coming after Supergirl. Yes. And I would imagine there must be maybe some kind of a tie-in, because
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, and then you've got Clayface, and then the next thing that comes out is I think Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Yeah.
I think You're being accused of being a Blue Lantern.
You're a blue. You know, Stan Lee actually said to my face when I was on a panel talk show with him on TV, he said that I'm from Krypton because I think you're from Krypton. It's one of the highlights of my life.
Congratulations.
I know.
That's quite an honor.
But I'd be a Blue Lantern, sure. Why not? I just think we're getting the show. The show is coming. It's and I'm curious to see what it is. And if it sucks, I'll be the first person to say this is garbage.
Writes that down.
Yeah.
Cosmortal Comics says it's the cult of Parallax. And Outlaw Pistolero says it's feeding off the fear and racism of the town.
I mean, that would be interesting.
Haven't we had enough of that, though?
Well, I mean, the colors of the spectrum, that does play a lot into the Green Lantern mythos.
Yes, it does.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know either, but there's only one way to find out.
We are going to find out, assuming I don't get hit by a bus.
Don't say things like that. Don't test the Lord.
No, I hope not.
No,
but listen, I have to go.
Yes, I was getting ready to wrap things up.
I have to go because I've got to do John Campia's show at noon. Then I'm going to see a double feature of Hoppers and The Bride.
Well, I have a feeling that you're going to really like one of them.
Yeah, I've heard the most mixed things in the world about The Bride.
Yeah, poor Maggie.
But
poor Maggie.
I know a lot of people that loved it. So,
really?
Yeah. So, and from people I trust, but I've also heard from people I trust they hated it. So that's the kind of movie I love to go see. You know?
Well, tell John Campia I said hi. I will send you an email here shortly about the stuff we talked about. And thank you so much for joining us today. And
what a cool random thing. Normally I don't even look at Instagram at 8 in the morning or something.
Or ever.
And I don't usually do that. And I'd gotten up and, I have 4 dogs. And I'm sitting there with the dogs in the TV room. And I was, looking at the news because every day I never know what's going to happen on this planet anymore.
Right.
And then I just looked down. I was like, scrolling. And then there you were. I wish you could be here to talk about because we're on opposite sides of the fence. And I'm like, well, let's do it. And you're like, okay. So I want to thank you. This is so much fun.
Oh yeah, this is great.
I've become a big fan of yours.
Thank you. You have no idea how much that means to me. You have no idea.
I like your energy. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch you. And we're going to do this again next week.
We are on Plot Holes and Payoffs. We're going to dive into Firefly, which is some excellent timing because apparently there's an announcement coming.
Do you think they're going to announce a new series?
I'm afraid to say yes, but they've said it's not a convention. It's not a podcast. It's none of those things. So it would be really cool if it was. But why hasn't he stopped at Alan Tudyk's house too?
Well, yeah, but isn't he dead?
He's dead. Yeah, he's dead. Got me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. They got to do like a clone or something. We have to bring Alan Tudyk back.
Somebody says I'm wrong about Doomsday.
You're still wrong about Doomsday, but good show. That's Loki. Loki's just he's Hal Jordan. He's bitter. Jaded. He's bitter and jaded.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how so much of the Doomsday movies come out, but not all of it.
Oh.
there's more to it. Yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see Doomsday.
I know you are so excited for that film.
I am so excited for it.
I can't wait either.
You know what a lot of these plot leaks do not get about Doomsday?
What?
There's great character interplay in the movie.
Nice.
In terms of various characters interacting. And I will say this. and I can't say how I know this, but I love the fact, at least in what I know, I can't really come right out and say what I know, even though everybody knows, but I can't say it. But it's just a small bit, and who knows if it's not going to get cut out of the movie or whatever. With Ant-Man, and I don't know why I just love this, but Ant-Man is a big fan of Shang-Chi. Scott Lang is a
Yeah.
fan of Shang-Chi, and there's just this throwaway thing in the movie where it could have changed, where he refers back to something that happens off screen in New York. And Scott Lang's like, yeah, I really love how you handle that thing in New York. And they kind of play off of Scott Lang being a fanboy of like Captain America from Civil War. Like, oh, it's so great to meet you. And there's little snippets of that I don't know why that struck me, just that Ant-Man's a fan of Shang-Chi. I like that. It was just, and it has nothing to do with the plot, but all the character interplay in this script and if you go back and you watch, I went back and watched Civil War a couple weeks ago. That movie rocks.
Oh, yeah. Civil War is
people
fantastic.
talk about the way it's shot, the action sequences, all the character interplay. If you look, that movie is so complex when you really think about they introduce Black Panther and T'Chaka and he dies. Then they've got people could say, okay, the villain, is Baron Zemo. Yeah, but also you have the rift between the Avengers. You've got the Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, whose side are you on business from the comic. There's so much. That movie is such a satisfying watch.
It is.
And you realize I was like, God damn, when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was good, it was good.
It was, yeah. Absolutely.
And that film, I mean, so much is happening in that movie. And I'll tell you something else people should not sleep on. And this is all I'm going to say is Vision Quest.
Oh, I've been telling you, I'm a huge fan of Terry Matalas, what he did with season 3 of Picard.
And his show 12 Monkeys.
Yes, 12 Monkeys.
4 seasons of 12 Monkeys.
He is a phenomenal showrunner and writer, director. He's amazing. Good hands. Good hands. I have no worries.
Yeah, I mean, the Vision Quest it's great.
We'll talk privately. We'll talk privately.
And it's, as Terry explained to me, one of the interesting things about Vision Quest is it's a father and son story where Ultron is the father and Vision is the son. And, James Spader is one of the stars of the show, but he's James Spader. He's not Ultron all the time. And like he's in human form. And I mean, I love James Spader. I love him as Raymond Reddington. I've loved James Spader since the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
When he was the villain in Pretty in Pink.
Oh, so handsome.
You're a bitch. You should see a doctor for that because that condition's terminal. Always wearing linen jackets, man. If I could have been anybody in high school from a movie, I would have been a nice version of James Spader.
He has such excellent, smooth line delivery. He's so good. So good.
So good.
All right, guys. Make sure you hit your like button on the way out, guys. We are done for the day. We're done for the week. I'll be back next week. Make sure you support my comic book at the ticker right here. All the links are in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled.
And what convention are you going to be at?
Oh, I'm going to be at MegaCon in 2 weeks in Orlando.
Is that Florida?
Yeah. Orlando, Florida. In 2 weeks from the 19th to the 20th. I'll only be there 2 days at the Rippaverse booth.
I've heard that's a great convention. I've never been there.
I've never been there either.
Is your comic coming out through as part of the Rippaverse?
No, this one's an indie comic. It's completely indie.
They're letting you promote it at the Rippaverse?
Yes, because my editor is Caro Brown, and she's the assistant editor-in-chief.
I very much admire what he's done with his brand.
He is awesome. Yeah. Eric is a completely awesome, kind human being, and he really loves supporting other indie artists as well. So they're being really awesome to me.
What Eric July did with that whole thing and the way he went about producing Isom 1, very much admire.
I have that one over on my shelf.
Well,
But
it was great. Thank you for letting me come on your show, and I hope that
thank
I
you
didn't
for
pop
coming.
off too much. I hate that
No.
that guy, old man shouting at clouds.
No, you were amazing, and I look forward to having you back next week.
It's gonna be fun, and thank you
I'm
for
looking
having me.
forward to it. Absolutely. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you!